this kind of interaction, I gradually acquire a certain understanding of myself and the world. This very radical statement by anthropologist, cultural anthropologist, by the name of Clifford Geertz. And he used this rather unusual usual expression, the radical, the liberating experience of confronting radical otherness. If you meet something you intellectually, conceptually, emotionally, you cannot understand, normally we consider that as an enemy. That's threatening to my existence. But his idea, which may work, in most cases won't work, is that radical otherness may be a way of liberating ourselves from our own conceptual constraints. It's a complicated notion in terms of actual experience, but I think it's not difficult for you to understand. As also a dialogical mode, the important thing is to remember what is the meaning of being human in a Confucian sense. If it is learning to be human, it's a broadening process, it's a deepening process, and the learning continues. The presupposition is what is being human. As many of you are familiar with, let's say, the Greek notion, human beings are rational animals, or human beings are political animals. So rationality defines what a human being ought to be. And of course, later we have Karl Marx's notion that a human being is a true user. Through work, through hard work, you develop a human community and so forth. And more recently, many philosophers are fascinated by the ability of the human beings to speak. Therefore, human beings are linguistic beings. Your ability to speak, our ability to speak, differentiates ourselves from all kinds of other animals. But the Confucians very early on rejected what I call the reductionist model, to see a very complicated human being from one particular point of view. That particular point is the most essential. The Confucians rejected this deliberately. They have a different sense of not only learning to be human, what is, in the classical sense, what is man? But the man, of course, is gender neutral. What is being human? The Confucians believe that the first thing about being human is human emotions, feelings. Of course, all other animals will have feelings, but human beings as human beings do have feelings. This idea of having feelings defines what a human being is in one particular area, in one dimension. And the feeling that is particularly cherished by the Confucian tradition is the feeling of empathy or sympathy towards other human beings. So the feeling is not emotions. No, make a difference between emotion and feelings. The word emotion or emotional may not be a positive term. You see the guy is very emotional. Sometimes you have to keep away from it. But the person who has feeling is always positive sense. But the person has some deep sense of understanding the world around him or the people around him. But human beings are also social beings, as central relationships. They're social beings. And this social being is the basis of the Confucian emphasis on the family. Many of us misconceive this notion about the family as a romantic assertion about the warmth of the family. Therefore, everybody should commit himself or herself to the well-being of the family. Now, this is a wrong conception, because the Confucians approach the family very realistically. The assumption is, as a human being, you cannot move beyond the family and become a surviving human being, let alone a human being that is able to flourish. All kinds of other animals may turn out to be very independent, very powerful, like zebra, when told after maybe a minute the zebra, the newborn zebra, will be able to run with the herd. Human beings at age of 3, totally helpless. At age of 6, some of us in college still depend both emotionally and financially on our families. So this dependence need is very characteristic of human. None of the other animals require that long period of nourishing, of loving and caring of the parents or the primary takers, primary supporters. In this particular sense, then family, in terms of human relationships, is a very complex system. Normally we just assume family is easy to deal with because people are familiar with one another. It's a complex system because it's differentiated by gender, by age, by status, by power, by influence. No matter how small the family is, let's say 5, these 5 people are differentiated from a highly complex sociological observation by age, by gender, by influence, by status, by power, and so forth. So the assumption is family depends upon the participation of every member to allow it to be stable, to be ordered, not to mention to be harmonious. If that's one person who can perform according to what Confucian called the rectification of names, if the father doesn't act fatherly, abusive father, everybody suffers. If the mother is not responsible, everybody suffers. If one of the children becomes totally egocentric, everybody suffers. The collaboration of every member is a precondition for the stability, the orderliness, and not to mention the harmony of the family. That's why we take it absolutely seriously. Say, wow, show me, in terms of text, where do we find that Confucians are so sophisticated in understanding the family? Let me give you a negative example to show that the Confucian approach to the family is not romantic. In the book of Mencius, there's a statement about a sage king by the name of Sun. And this sage king, unfortunately, lived in a totally heartless, abusive family. The father, Gu Zhou, was extremely brutal. The stepmother was not only indifferent, was extremely aggressive towards him, and his half-brother really wanted to get rid of him. Just imagine you're in that family, you're in trouble. When he was asked to fix the well, they put dirt into the well. When he was asked to fix the roof, they got the ladder away and burned the house. But anyway, it was the worst possible situation. And yet this man managed to have that kind of family eventually harmonized. It's humanly, almost humanly impossible, and he did it. That's why he was called the sage king. He was a sage because of his ability to do it. Most of us are not able to do it. So we benefit from the harmony of the family, we suffer. And it is an enduring process. In the first, from the Freudian point of view, even in the first few months, but generally in the first few years, the family conditions us in the most significant way. So in your reading of Houston Smith, and my article is available on web. Houston Smith is distributed with this packet. The emphasis on the 5 relationships. Only one of the 5 relationships related to political relationships, that is the minister and the ruler. At least 3 of the relationships are related to the family. The parent and child relationship, husband and wife, and sibling relationship. The other one, of course, is friendship. Each one of the 5 relationships is reciprocal. It's a two-way traffic, it's not a one-way. The father should be loving, so the son will be obedient. The minister or the